Good evening and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners February 12th, 2019, 5:30 public hearing. It is 5:33 and we will get started. May I ask all those present to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so the record should reflect that the entire Board of County Commissioners is present for this evening's hearings. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some rules. Just if you've got a cell phone, please silence it. If you're here to testify, please fill out a yellow form so that way we have that for any public testimony. It's limited to 3 minutes, so if anyone wants to come up, I may have you do that. So we're going to begin tonight with our first of 2 open public forums. This is the first one, so again, 3 minutes is the opportunity for you to come up to speak. I don't have, at this point, any yellow slips, so I will open it. Go first call for anyone wanting to testify. Second call for anyone wanting to testify. Third and final call for anyone wanting to testify, and I will close the public hearing. Next on our list is I will have Kathleen Tortorella come up and give us a presentation on the matter of approving the amendment of a lease agreement for office space with Spokane Treatment and Recovery Services for property owned by Spokane County's Community Services, Housing and Community Development Department.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, I am Kathleen Torella, Director of Community Services, Housing and Community Development, and our request is to receive final approval from the Board of leasing office space within the Community Services Housing Community Development Building located at 312 West 8th Avenue. This is a property owned by Spokane County. Spokane Treatment and Recovery Services, known as STARS, currently provides substance use disorder treatment and sobering services to individuals within the Spokane County community. This agency has leased from this building for over 10 years. As they are planning departure over time from this space, they have requested to reduce the existing lease space effective February 1st, 2019, and reduce it to 12,194 square feet and to reduce the monthly rate to $25,594. Are there any questions?
So the lease is only for basically a 5-month period. It goes until June 30th, 2019?
The current lease does. They are planning to stay in all of the second floor, so we are expecting to renew their lease to allow them to continue to lease the second floor, and I think it's 3 offices on the first floor until they have finished their second building to put their withdrawal management unit in. So that's the current plan, but the current lease right now only goes through the end of June.
So all we're doing is we're doing an amendment to the lease to reduce the square footage for the remaining term on the primary lease.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, no other questions for Kathleen? So then this is a public hearing, so I will open it up for anyone wishing to testify on this lease agreement. Okay, first call, second call for anyone wanting to testify, third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that the board approve the amendment of a lease agreement for office space with Spokane Treatment and Recovery Services for property owned by Spokane County's Community Services, Housing and Community Development Department located at 312 West 8th Avenue, Spokane, Washington, for a period of February 1, 2019 through June 30, 2019, as presented by staff.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, that will bring us to our next item on tonight's agenda, item number 5, which we'll have a presentation from Mr. John Peterson in the matter of a development agreement between Spokane County and Secure Self-Storage LLC in conjunction with the approval of an annual compensation plan amendment and associated zone change for file number 16-CPA-02.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, John Peterson, Planning Director. Today is the date you have set to consider a development agreement for a property that was subject to a 2016 Annual Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Zone Reclassification, file number 16 CPA-02. Oh, here we are. Perfect. As you recall from our briefing on this matter, the subject property is located west and adjacent to the Newport Highway, Highway 2, in this vicinity. It is triangular in shape and is located essentially across the street from the new Costco on the Newport Highway and just north of the Camelot area subdivisions and the Forest Glen, West Glen area in North Spokane County. In 2016, the comprehensive plan amendment that was proposed and approved by the Board of County Commissioners in December of 2017 changed this property from the low-density residential designation, which is shown on the map, to regional commercial. And you can see across the street is the large Costco parcel and a mixed-use designation. And its location on the Newport Highway. The property is vacant and undeveloped. It's 42 acres in size. That's what it looked like with the current aerial photo. Very heavily treed, and you can see the, this is where the Costco is in this neck of the woods in the new roundabout. And you can see the adjacent residential development to the west and to the north. The comprehensive plan amendment was approved again in December of 2017 by resolution by the board. And with that came some conditions. And those conditions were referenced in your decision that basically said that the board agreed with the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve this comprehensive plan amendment contingent upon execution of a development agreement. And that development agreement basically would address compliance with the mitigation measures that were done with the mitigated determination of non-significance for the SEPA determination that basically limited site development consistent with this site plan with a maximum of 212 PM trips, traffic trips, and that the development agreement, when subject to this public hearing, should consider building height, landscaping, retention of trees along the north and west property lines, as you saw from the aerial photo, provide setback and buffers to the west and north property lines, and consider noise, lighting, and parking lot design as ways of mitigating the impacts on those adjacent neighborhoods. The development agreement itself, the draft development agreement, is before you, and in that development agreement, section 2.2 really provides the meat of the proposal by the applicant's representative, who's here, Mr. Stratton, to talk about that if you wish to ask him questions. And that development agreement, as proposed, basically lists the following as the main topics and mitigation measures that were directed in your resolution approving the comprehensive plan amendment. One, again, it basically says that the applicant shall comply with all the previous conditions of approval from the MD&S, which limits trips and ingress and egress to the site, that building height within 100 feet of the north and west property lines be limited to a maximum height of 35 feet. That's the same height maximum as the adjacent residential LDR zone. And that landscaping, in addition to the required amount of landscaping in the regional commercial zone and the aesthetic corridor, they would maintain 20 feet of type 1 landscaping along the north and west property lines and 25 feet of type 2 along the Newport Highway. Also, they would look at retaining vegetation within 20 feet of the north and west property lines in lieu of that landscaping. And you saw in that aerial photo, the site's very heavily treed, so retention of that vegetative tree buffer could suffice as the required landscaping, rather than taking out the trees and new plantings. Those mature pines could be used as that landscape buffer. Also, that building setbacks 20 feet from the north and west property lines, and that all lighting on the site will be down shielded, so it will not extend beyond the property lines. And then the parking lot design, that the parking spaces would also be outside that setback, so you would minimize that glare from headlights shining on the adjacent residential properties. That was what was proposed by the applicant, consistent with your direction in your approval of the comprehensive plan amendment. A development agreement is proposed, does require its own separate public hearing. That's the function tonight, is to have that public hearing to garner input on the development agreement, see if you agree with what was proposed by the applicant. This could be modified, should you wish to add to it or modify it. And that's really the reason we're here tonight, is to look at this draft development agreement, take any public comment you may have, address any concerns, and the applicant is here unless you have questions. That's all I have for you. Pretty straightforward on this matter.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Finch.
So along the west property line and north property line, is the intent that if you retain the existing treed vegetation, that is in lieu of type 1?
It can be, because type 1
Okay.
also consists of that very detailed, dense plantings, and I would suggest that retaining a very mature buffer like that would be in excess of type 1 landscaping.
Yeah, okay.
Because
So-
planting of type 1 can be grass and then 5 foot of intense landscaping and a fence. Here, a 20-foot tree buffer would probably be in excess of type 1.
Right, right. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't maintaining the trees and type 1.
Yeah.
So that you've got to deal with ground cover and a variety of other different elements as well.
Yeah, we do have that flexibility in the code to look at in lieu of the specific plantings, but
Right.
this would be, it could exceed the minimum type 1 standards.
Thank you.
Absolutely, you bet.
Okay, no other questions for Mr. Peterson? So then I will open the public hearing. Again, anyone wishing to testify needs to grab a yellow form. I'll give you your first opportunity, second opportunity to testify, third opportunity. Okay, I will close this public hearing. And seeing no other questions there, I'll look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that in the matter of a development agreement between Spokane County and Secure Self-Storage LLC, in conjunction with the approval of the annual comprehensive plan amendment and associated zone change for file number 16-CPA-02, the Board of County Commissioners accepts the development agreement negotiated between the county and the developer, and be processed accordingly. Mr. Catt.
If I may, notice in this that there's, needs to be put sort of in final form. It's my cough. I noticed in a version that's been presented up to you, it's not really in a final form. It's got reference to a 2.5 reservation in there that's in, I believe it's in 2.2. There is no 2.5. So I would propose that we prepare a finished form for you, not making any significant or substantial changes, but clarifying the language somewhat and putting in some boilerplate language just on rights.
And that the
That's-
board be authorized to sign the agreement and other than an open public meeting?
I believe you could, or you could consider it, the proposal at a public meeting without a public hearing, either way.
But I'd like to be able to just dispense with it tonight and not have another meeting over the same thing.
Yeah. I'm just concerned that the language that's in there raises a question, well, where is it? And then we come back that way.
So then my motion would also include the opportunity for legal staff to correct any deficiencies in the document presented to us tonight and any Scrivener's errors that might also surface.
Yes, put in a small bit of boilerplate language that would not affect the
Intent of the
conditions
agreement.
of development, and clarify the one provision concerning the type 1 landscaping that you wished.
Okay?
I'll second the motion.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so this brings us to our final item tonight, which is, again, an open public forum. So anyone wishing to testify, I will open the public forum. First opportunity, second, third, and final opportunity to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public forum. And with that, I believe we are done. So we can adjourn the meeting for tonight. Thank you.